Welcome to Townend, home of the Browne family for more than 400 years. The Brownes were sheep farmers and generations of them lived here from 1525 through to 1943. The house is still full of their things, from furniture they made to books they spilt food on. They even kept grocery receipts. Everyday objects whose survival is extraordinary. These objects aren't necessarily significant or valuable as individual items, but the value lies more in how they come together to reveal tantalising glimpses of social history and the everyday lives of one family living in rural Westmoreland. The collection of books at Townend is of national significance. It's the only collection of this kind belonging to generations of a farming family, and it contains more than 50 books which are entirely unique. No other known copies have survived. The oldest book in the collection is a 1548 version of the New Testament, and the youngest, a book from 1943, Pied Piper by Neville Shute, a contemporary novel about the Second World War. The collection is richly diverse, spanning time and subjects. In early centuries, religious books and legal volumes were kept alongside history, political and medical books. We know the books at that time were stored in chests with the titles inked along the foredge. Later Brownes expanded the collection with plays, novels, poetry, books about travel and gardening. We know that the books were treasured and used by the families. Many of them contain florid signatures, notes in the margins, and some even have comical sketches. We've even come across physical evidence in some of the books which may give a clue as to how they've been used. Inside one, we found a splash of mud, a horsehair, and some grass seeds which had been closed between the pages of the book. Here are just a few of my favourites from the collection. A Way to Get Wealth by Gervase Markham, 1648. This book, I think, could still be a bestseller today. What a great title. It's clear from the archive records that the Brownes were consistently engaged in trying to better their fortunes, both financially and socially, whether through diversifying their business interests or taking on positions of responsibility in the community. The Crafty Chambermaid's Garland from 1770. This is one of our collection of chapbooks. Cheaply made, locally produced pamphlets, often containing slightly bawdy stories. They were once produced in great numbers, but very few have survived. This one tells a tale of a plucky young maid who wants to marry a rich merchant, but his family won't permit it. She decides to play a trick on him, inviting him to come into her bed, but she secretly gets an old woman to pose there instead of her. He gets a terrible shock, and the family think it's so funny, they allow them to marry after all. Gates' New Shepherd's Guide, 1879. This locally produced farmer's reference book contains all of the smit and lug markings used to identify sheep across Cumberland, Westmoreland and Lancashire. The local Herdwick sheep would roam on open, unenclosed fells, instinctively staying to their own area or heath. This book would be invaluable if the sheep went astray or when they were collectively gathered in. A Westmoreland Village by S.H. Scott, 1904. Dedicated to the last George Browne by the author. The survival of Townend as we see today is largely down to the last George Browne, and you can really see his passion for sharing the history of his family, their house and the village coming through strongly in this collaboration. It also represents a key period in history, concerns over threats to private ownership of land and cultural heritage, prompting the formation of the National Trust. We're now going to hear from Chantal, our collections and house officer, who's going to tell us a little bit more about our book conservation work.
Over the last 20 years, we've been working with specialist book conservators to record the condition of every book in this collection at Townend. That's over 1,500. Small repairs to the paper and the binding have been done here in Townend in situ, and also book shoes have been made, such as this one here. So gravity pulls down the text block, and by putting these raised bits in here, it supports the pages, making sure that we can protect them forever. Some books needed more significant intervention. For example, where the binding is completely detached. These books have been sent away to specialist book conservators' studios. This is a late 17th century English-Latin dictionary, which has been damaged by mould and insect pests, as well as the binding disintegrating. The treatment begins with the surface cleaning of every page, then old adhesives are removed and repairs are made to the paper using a special Japanese tissue. The pages must then be pressed in order to fit into the original binding. Each page is sewn onto the new hemp cords. New leather is dyed to match the original, then used to repair damage, and the boards are consolidated before being reattached to the text block. Our team also works on preventative conservation at Townend. We do things like monitor the light levels in the building as well as relative humidity. All these things make sure that insect pests and mould doesn't come onto our collections so we can look after them properly. We also regularly check the books and clean them when they're dusty.
Thank you for your support, which makes it possible to carry on looking after special places like Townend for everyone, forever.